Good. Good. Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to start by saying that thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Charlottesville for the tragic news that's come out of there today. Sally and I have a daughter that's a faculty member there, and she texted us early this morning to tell us she was okay. But it's really, really sad when you have to worry about your family members and your children everywhere we go. So we've got to be smarter, and we've got to figure this thing out. We can't keep having useless deaths. So thoughts and prayers are with everybody, family members especially, and that's not the news you want to wake up to every day. Pleased with our game at Wake Forest. It's all about winning. We've said it's about scoring offense and scoring defense, and we were able to do what we needed to win the game. It's still a crazy team. They've won 9 games. They've won 6 games on the road, and for some reason, we can't play a full game. We just can't put our foot on the gas and put somebody away. It's the best first quarter we've had offensively. We're playing great on defense. Everything's great. And then it's like we go to sleep for a while. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's something that's dangerous because it can get you beat. But they keep finding a way to win. And we sure don't do it the easy way. Offensive players of the game were Drake and Josh Downs. Those two have become as good a quarterback-receiver combination as there is in the country. Other guys that were contributors on offense, Bryson Nesbitt, John Copenhaver, whose name just keeps coming up each week as playing well on offense, but also special teams. Elijah Green, Antoine Green, Corey Gaynor, and also Richardson. So all those guys had really, really good performances. Defensive player of the game was Kamen Rucker. He's one of our best defensive players. He is a tenacious pass rusher, and even played hurt last week, but did a great job. I guess we can't get them to shut up. Okay.
One of them came in here.
He came in here and checked
A few minutes ago to find out when we were starting, and they were going to go off until.
Yeah. Do we need to stop for a second? Does it matter to you all?
It's hard to
It's
hear.
your house, Max.
Yeah.
You get to stop.
You should go out there and tell him. Tell him who you are.
Just tell James if you can. Maybe they're stopping there.
We'll video you going over there and tell them. You got it.
Go over there and remind them you're a Hall of
Then
Famer.
I'll get sued for assault, verbal assault.
Tell them you're a Hall of Famer. They got to stop for you.
Tell us construction workers to shut up.
And then the construction workers are going to say, yeah, and you're on me about getting this thing done. So
That's it. You can blame it if recruiting suffers.
we lost 2 months because Mack stopped us at the press conference.
Someone on Twitter will come up with that, no doubt.
No question.
Probably at 11:30.
With a video of me screaming.
Be great.
Get off my
Okay, back to defensive player of the game, Kamen Rucker. As we said, he's been tenacious. He's been an outstanding pass rusher, and he's a leader on this team, and very, very proud of him. Other guys that contributed because we knew we had to get push up front. Kevin Hester, Miles Murphy, Cedric Gray plays great every week, and Power Eccles plays great every week. So those were the contributors. But those guys up front did the things that we needed to do. Special teams player of the game, as I said, is John Copenhaver. He plays on a lot of different special teams, and he's making plays. Contributors on special teams, Will Hardy, DJ Jones, Jake Harkleroad, and George Pettaway. Really proud of these guys. They're ACC Coastal champs. They did what we asked them to do. They didn't talk about it. They didn't back into it. They needed to win enough to get that honor. And they did it with a couple of games left, which is really, really good for them. It's about getting better each week as a team, and we're doing that, but we're still making entirely too many mistakes that at some point will get us beat unless we get those fixed. Sound like you listen to me, doesn't it? 9-1 for the fourth time since 1980. So it was 2022, obviously, 2015, 1997, and the last time was 1980. So it's these guys are accomplishing things that haven't been accomplished around here very often. 6-0 on the road for the first time in school history. And I don't think there's anybody else in Power 5 that's 6-0 on the road. So that's really, really cool. 6 consecutive road games is the nation's second largest active streak behind Georgia. And Georgia just won the national championship. So it shows you how hard it is to continue to go on the road and win. Drake is the Walter Camp National Player of the Week offensively. Josh Downs set an ACC record for catches in 3 consecutive games. He caught 37 passes the last 3 games. That's broken the record of 36. It was a Syracuse player many years ago. And Ced Gray leads Power 5 with tackles with 108, which is very impressive. Ced's all over the field and playing at a very high level and doing a great job leading. Also impressed with this team that it's next man up. We look up and Antoine Green's out of the game. We look up and Josh Downs is going in to get taken care of with his cramps. And you got to have people step up. And Gavin Blackwell did that again, like they did in the early season, and also Kobe Paysauer did the same. So really, really proud of those guys. Tight ends have been banged up some. When Bryson Nesbitt got hurt, other tight ends stepped up. So this has been a team that just keeps playing, and that's what you got to like about them. And I've told our coaches we've got to make sure this time of the year that the backup player gets the same amount of time as the starter because he's going to play some. And I thought it came up a couple of times Saturday night where maybe we didn't run that play with the backup as much as we did the starter, and then all of a sudden the starter's out. So you've got to make sure that everybody that has a chance to play is getting a lot of reps in practice. But it's a credit to our coaches recruiting and developing players that we've lost this many players on defense. We've lost players on offense throughout the year, lost 2 starting running backs, and these guys are still stepping up and doing a good job playing. Offensively, 16 explosive plays. We were 10 of 16 on third downs, but 0 for 2 on fourth downs. And fourth down's been so good to us. And we did not get that accomplished on Saturday night. We had 8 trips in the red zone, but 2 of them we didn't score. 1 of them we took a knee, but the other 2 we didn't score, and that's something we've been doing. So we've got to score touchdowns. We kicked a field goal 1 time and obviously didn't make it on 4th and 6 inches. And once again, we go on the road and do not have a turnover, which is huge in winning games. So we started great, didn't finish the drives late in the game. The running game's getting better, but we still got too many no gain or minus yards rushing plays. We said we got in the red zone 8 times. We kneeled on the last one, but didn't finish the other 2 drives. We're 1st and goal from the 5 with a chance to put the game away, and we have to kick a field goal. And that's just not acceptable and not who we are. And the other time is 6 inches. I worried in the Pittsburgh game when we were 1 yard away and we throw a pass. And we hit Kobe Paysauer and he steps in. It was too easy. And I said, that'll cost us later because there's a certain toughness that you got to have in the red zone run game. And we couldn't score from 6 inches on Saturday night. And that's problematic and something we've got to address and we've got to go back and fix. We said we were good on third down, but we weren't good on fourth downs. And we left points on the field. And that's not what our offense has been doing. So as well as we played on offense, I walked away disappointed in red zone scoring because we had opportunities to do that and didn't do it. Defensively, we need to find more consistency. We started well, we ended well, but there's times that we give up entirely too many explosive plays. And our explosive plays, we go back and look at most of the time on this, it was missed tackles in the secondary. because we did a good job keeping them in front of us. And then what they did is they went for 6 fourth downs, one of them in their own territory around the 30, and some of those turned into explosive plays because it's 4th and 3 and 4th and 4, and we held them on 3rd downs, which we did a great job with them on 3rd downs. But what they were doing is going by analytics and trying to make enough on 3rd down to go for 4th downs. And then they were successful 4 out of 6 times, which made the difference in their 3rd down count, because you got to look at 4th downs now. And they scored 3 touchdowns and 4 trips to the red zone. And we've still got to do a better job of holding them out. But shut out in the 4th quarter again, which is really, really impressive for these kids. We won the 4th quarter 3-0 and end up winning the game by 2. And the critical turnover, that's the 3rd interception in 2 years that Cam Kelly's had against Wake, which was key, changed the game. And then again, we throw the ball away twice when we're trying to kill the clock. So we really messed up the last drive when we got down to the 5-yard line. We didn't do anything right. We had a false start with our center, and we have 2 incomplete passes to stop the clock. So it just, we didn't do anything right to finish it. And then, thank goodness, Noah Burnett did step up and kick the field goal to win the game. But huge stop on 4th down. It was really, this is the way this team's been. We leave the ball at the 6-inch line offensively, and defensively, you got to hold them, make them get a short punt and go score. They drive it down to the 8-yard line and then don't make a 4th down. So we give up way too many yards on the way down and then have a 4th down stop that again gives us a chance to go win the game. So we've got to be more consistent and not give up explosives on defense. We got to play better red zone defense to stop touchdowns, and we've got to be more consistent in the red zone again on offense and on 4th downs. Good job with our special teams. We had good kickoff returns to a point. They were sky kicking, and our guys handled that well. But Will Hardy did a good job on his return, and George Pettaway gets close when they kick it to him, and there was some wind, so it gave us a chance to return some kicks. Ben Kiernan continues to do a good job punting. He punted one down to the 6 and knocked it out of bounds, and the other one he had it high enough that it forced a fair catch. So he had really, really good hang time. Noah Burnett, as I said, kicked the field goal to win the game. And other than that, missed an extra point, and also did a poor job kicking off. So we've got to do better overall in his area, but he had the kick that won the game at the end. But we cannot be missing we cannot be missing extra points. I thought, as weird as it was after that game, that both defenses played better than they played the last 2 years, 3 years, because that game had been 59, 54, 55, 52, whatever it was. It was a whole lot to a whole lot. So both defenses played a whole lot better on Saturday night to hold the game in the 30s, because these are 2 of the best offenses in the country. And I do want to credit Sam Hartman. He time and time again, we had him and we hit him and he completed passes. He is really, really a good player, and it's a credit to him with what he's done for Wake Forest. They credited us with 1 sack, and we had him down a bunch of times because of their offense. It was near the line of scrimmage. So I don't think our defense got near the credit that they deserved for the number of times that they hit the quarterback, disrupted the quarterback, and also tackled him at the line of scrimmage, which would normally be sacks. Georgia Tech dominated us last year. They really ruined our season. We got a bad start at Virginia Tech, but when we beat Virginia and we dominated Virginia, we go to Georgia Tech and just get killed. And it was awful, and that's when all the fans quit, and everybody quit, and everybody's disappointed, me too. They totally dominated the game. In fact, the score was 45-22. I looked at it this morning, made me throw up. We had 63 rushing yards. They had 261. We gave up 8 sacks for 55 yards. That's enough sacks for a season. We went for 4th down, I remember, on our 31, and that'll cure you from doing that. We lost 2 yards. and they scored quickly, and they got 17 points off turnovers. So Jeff Collins, he did a tremendous job there recruiting. They've got really good players, and Sims did such a great job against us at quarterback last year. So Brent Key has stepped in for Jeff. I hated to see Jeff let go that early in a process because he took over an option team, and I thought he did a really, really good job of rebuilding it, getting great players, and having a chance. Like I said, in our game, he totally dominated our game. So Brent Key stepped in, and everything I've heard about Brent is really, really good. All the people that I respect in the business feel like that he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country, and he's done a really good job with this team. They beat Duke, who we've seen is a really good football team, and they also beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, and that's two of the best teams that we've played. So they're going to play hard. They're still in contention for bowl bids, so they're going to come in here and give us the best shot they've got. It'll be a really good challenge for our program this week. Everybody will be bragging on our guys, and everybody talking about clinching the ACC Coastal, getting ready to go to the championship game, asking about tickets, and then you got your rival next week and senior day, and this one's sitting in here where we better get ready to play. So this will be a really good test to see how we've matured. We didn't play great at Virginia when there wasn't a lot of talk about the game. And there won't be as much talk about this game publicly as there will be the state game and the championship game. So we'll have to get our minds ready to go, because anybody watches that film last year, they got good enough players, and they absolutely whipped us in every way and out-coached us. Questions?
Mack, this may be an odd question, but if you close your eyes and walk around the football building, just listen to the chatter with the players and the coaches, would you be able to, would there be a difference between, the dog days of August before the FAMU game and now? Has the talk, or the tenor of the talk changed at all?
Yes, I told the players the other day, I think the difference in this year's team and last year's team is not talent. We were talented last year, and we were good enough to win games, and we could have won these same games last year that we're winning this year, because we lost 6 on the road. The difference is the way that they started in January, and their attention to detail, and they have become a player-led team. I'm usually having to walk over there last year to stir up the defense, and I see Gio Biggers and Ced Gray pulling them all together and challenging them in a positive way, and doing such a great job. And the same thing on offense. Culture, whatever we call it, of this team has been, we're going to find ways to win, and we're going to make sure that we're all in, and we're going to make sure that we play hard every week, and we're going to do the little things that we need to do to win. And for whatever reason, this team's done that. And when I actually said I don't want to hear the Coastal mentioned the last 2 weeks, they didn't mention it. I said, I don't care about your rating. I only care about it at the end of the year. In fact, when I said last week you were 15th in the college football playoff poll, Ced Gray kind of said, Coach, who cares? Let's go, man, as we're sitting in a team meeting. So their approach has been, let's get better. And then as critical as people have been about our defense, because our defense has played better at times than people have given it credit for, they just keep working. They don't point fingers. I think part of that's the credit to Coach Chiswick, because his personality is right here, and he's going to correct them, and he will be direct with them, but he's not a screamer and a cusser, and he's not going to be critical of them. He's going to be factual and make sure they're accountable, and he's accountable, and that's why our defense keeps getting better. But no, I think that you hear this team, they'll be talking about Georgia Tech.
Are you shocked at all that you're still able to make history this deep into your career out of school when it comes to first time in 134 years, first time in school history, winning 6 road games in a single season? And does that kind of renew your love at all for what you do in coaching?
Yes, and I'm not shocked. That's what I came back for. I was shocked that we were so inconsistent last year. And I took that personal, and I thought it was my fault, because I'm the boss. everything goes through me, so everything that happened was my fault, whether we didn't coach them well, whether they didn't listen. Young people don't decide to be inconsistent. They want to be good. It's coaching, and coaching does matter. And I'm really, really proud that right now we're relevant again. Right now, people are still talking about North Carolina, and we haven't been to a championship game since 2015. So there's a lot of good things that are popping up here, and I'm really proud of these guys. And I'm proud of our coaches, and I'm proud of the way they're competing and fighting. And probably the best thing about this team right now is they're not near satisfied with how we're playing. I told them yesterday, how can you put the ball at the 6-inch line, let them drive it 90 yards? I mean, how do you do that and win a game? And then why don't, when you stop the 4th and 3, why don't you stop them 6 plays before that? How do you get the ball to win a game on the road that's so important at the 5-yard line and have to kick a long field goal? You can't do that and keep winning. It's going to bite us. So they've been a team that has been very receptive to tough criticism because of things we haven't done, and not just patting themselves on the back for things we have.
How pivotal has Cedric Gray been to that culture change that you're talking about?
Cedric Gray might be the most important to the culture change on defense. He leads, he's positive. He and Power Eccles practice every day like you see them play. And we haven't had depth at that position, so they've had to play a whole lot of plays. And even to the point I've told them, y'all be smart enough, we can't afford a targeting penalty. But they're passionate about football. In fact, the 3 things the players ask, passion, accountability, and toughness, they are. And they're the epitome of those 3 things. And they're both really good leaders. And I can sit here right now and tell you they'll practice really well in the morning and they'll play hard on Saturday.
Sort of staying on that, you've built 2 programs into national prominence at the top of college football. I'm sure there are pivotal sequences in each of those building projects where you had weeks like this week where you learned a lot about where the program is. Is this program at that point this week coming off achieving something very tangible, still with a lot more to out in front of you guys? So you're going to find out really what these kids are made of this week?
Absolutely, Andrew. I told him yesterday, you've done a good job, and this is a good team. And you can either become a great team because the story is not finished yet, or you can go stand around the next couple of weeks and be a good team. There's a lot of teams that have won 9 games in North Carolina history. You can be one of those. Or you can be one of those that accomplishes things that haven't been accomplished very often around here. And it's totally up to you and your mindset. If our program's where it needs to be, we took us another step by beating Wake Forest. We took a step because we'd never won 6 on the road. We took a step because we hadn't been in we hadn't won the Coastal since 2015. So those were major steps. Now, can you take another step? And another step is going to be beating Georgia Tech. When a lot of people will be talking about something else. And I said, you're going to have a lot of distractions this week with people bragging on you. And lose to Georgia Tech, and that all stops. So you need to get ready to play. And Georgia Tech's going to play hard. We know that. They're trying to get some things accomplished. So, and I also told them it's a great teachable moment, because one of the toughest things in our life is complacency when we've accomplished something that people didn't think we could. So this is a great moment to see how we've matured as a program.
You had those points at Carolina the first time and you had them at Texas. The player-led situations then, is it similar to what you have right now?
Yeah, this is as player-led a team as I've had in a long, long time. And I really like it. You know, we've had some great leaders on the team since we've been here. This whole team has bought in. And there's guys that are second and third teamers that are fighting their guts out. The show teams out there, the scout teams that put on the Georgia Tech picture. They are competing harder than I've ever seen. So this team has bought in, and they're just working so hard to win. And the coaches too. The coaches are all getting along. They're competing, and there's a few that were yelling at each other on Saturday night because they know how important it is. That's what I told them. I said, you got to keep your composure, but I got it, man. This is important, and we want to win, and you can't go out there and mess it up. And everybody got that, but everybody knows that everybody's on the same page and everybody wants to win. In fact, I'll say this whole building feels like they're part of this thing, and everybody in this building is trying to continue to win because it's been a long time since we felt this good.
Mack, speaking of the 6 road games, was there any point like last year or before when you looked at the schedule and you were like, I got to get one of these games moved or something? Because a lot of times, teams won't play that many road games. They'll, buy it out or whatever and get more home games.
Yeah, I'd rather have 7 home games every year. That's what we need, we're working toward. But I think, again, going to App State's hard. Going to Georgia State's hard. There was nobody there. I mean, that was a dead stadium, and that's tough for kids. You gotta play, and in a weird way, I think some of those things, the distraction with Florida A&M, were they coming or not? I mean, I'm sitting with a TV crew the day before the game, and they said, "Do you know if they're coming or not?" And I said, "No." And they said, "If you hear, will you tell us?" And I've got my phone sitting out there, and I'm waiting on a text message to see if we have the game. And a number of our kids always know their kids, and with social media and the way communication is now by phone, their players are saying, "I don't think we're coming." So I got Josh Downs calling me saying, "Coach, they're telling me they're not coming." And I said, "Well, just take a deep breath. Let's all get worked out." And then I'm calling Bubba and Rick Steinbarger and said, "Are they coming?" And they're saying, "I don't know. We haven't been told yet." So I actually get a text talking to the TV people. They've decided they're coming and they're headed to the airport. So those kind of things have helped this team, I think, because they've had to get rid of distractions and just go play. And instead of griping about road games, just go win them. And we've said the road games are harder to win. I put up the scores. All of them are 7 points or less. And you've won close games, and it's hard to win close games. We haven't done that enough here, and it's hard to win tough games, especially on the road, and they've been able to accomplish both. So they understand we need to be able to put our foot on the gas and finish. Because I also said, let's go back to the 20-point lead in the fourth quarter with App State. How'd that get out of control? Let's go back to the 21-3 lead at Georgia State. How'd that get out of control? And mostly turnovers. But let's go back to Miami. We had a big lead on them. Let's go back to last week. We were 21-7. So why are we not finishing games like we should, especially on the road? Pittsburgh, we finished. And it was third quarter, fourth quarter before we did, but at least we finished them. And these other games we're not finishing. So we gotta mature and figure out a way to do that. But this has been a year of handling distractions and making them work.
It appears you've kicked off the Drake Maye for Heisman campaign last night with the Twitter video. I saw you retweeted it. Your thoughts on that decision, kind of what goes into the marketing of that with 2 regular season games remaining?
Yeah, Jeremy had a lot of experience at Texas with Heismans. And we had it with Colt McCoy, we had it with Vince Young, and we had it with Ricky Williams. And Ricky won the Heisman. The other 2 came in second or third. So what you do is it's up to us to keep winning. I learned that Ricky Williams won the Heisman when we won 9 games. But it's a team award. And I told the guys at Texas, you want your guy to win the Heisman, you got to keep winning. That's it. And then we put the Heisman on every ring of every player and had to get permission to do that after it's over because it's not an individual award. Everybody says it is, but it's not. You got to have a good team. So I thought Drake took a huge step going on the road against a team that had 19-3 at home. Those guys have been really good at Winston-Salem. And it's a full house. It was an exciting night and TV, and he played lights out. So there's no reason for me to think he's going to do any different. But I remember Colt McCoy had a tough night because we didn't block Dominican Sue. And nobody else did either, but he threw down everybody we had. And we won, I think, 13-12 against Nebraska, and that was right before the votes came out, so that killed him because he didn't have a great performance that night. We won the game, we went to the national championship, but that killed him. Vince Young didn't have his best performance against A&M, and Reggie Bush had his great game against Fresno State. And then the next week, Reggie has a great game against UCLA, and they beat them 73-13 or something. We beat Colorado 70-3, but it's still, people get in their minds. So it just, Drake's had his Heisman moments. He's done everything he's supposed to do. He's had an unbelievable year to this point. He just got to keep playing.
Is this like your decision, group decision, marketing decision? Are you like, all right, let's kick it off? How's that kind of work on the scenes?
No, I think it's really Jeremy's decision with the family. He talks to the Maye family and how do we do this? What do you want? How much do we do? I have absolutely nothing to do with it. Didn't even see it. I just retweet some stuff. I get in trouble with Twitter, I'm sure, because I'm sitting there doing something else, and I'm ADD and multitasking anyway. So there was one, gosh, a few years ago, that they had these military faces, and they were all for the Big 12. And I thought, what a positive thing. All these guys in the military have got their faces up there, and Texas had just lost a tough basketball game, and I love Shaka Smart. But they were all standing up for their program, so I liked it. I thought, I like military. Big 12 is great to me. This would be good. Moved on. And then we started getting calls from Texas media because the face of the one military guy with Texas was a clown, and they were making fun of them losing. So they said, Mack is making fun of Texas losing and Texas basketball losing. And Jeremy calls me and says, I know you don't know this. And you messed up. And I said, what do you mean? I took those military guys and I was trying to be nice. And he said, no, you didn't look at it very closely. So you got to be careful. But I just think he got to keep playing. I think he should be invited to New York off of what he's done so far. Obviously, the Heisman voters decide who the Heisman is. I have sat there 3 times not knowing whether our guy was going to win the Heisman or not. So they don't tell you. And I sat behind all 3 of them. And they would turn to me and say, what do you think? And I'd say, I'm not feeling good. And here's the reason I'm not feeling good. But they actually don't know till the vote. And the tough thing is, right after the vote, you have to go to a press conference, win and lose. So it's a tough deal.
With the Heisman, it does seem like for players who've won, there's one particular moment that stands out in the course of their season. Obviously, there's a few games left for Drake to play, but to this point, what would that moment be for you?
I think he's had a whole bunch of them. But the one that would make a difference to me is the drive right before the half at Duke and the drive at the end of the game. I mean, he absolutely won that game with those 2 drives. And to score with 16 seconds left with a dramatic pass in the corner, that's a Heisman moment for sure.
Were you watching the Colts game at all with Jeff making his debut? And were you pacing at all? Or were you like trying to think, no, don't do this, do this?
I was trying to figure out why we didn't score from the 5 and why we didn't score from the 6-inch line. Why didn't we make the 2 fourth downs? And how can they drive the ball from the 6-inch line to the 8? So no, I didn't see any of the pro games yesterday, but I did text Jeff last night and say, congratulations, man. I'm so proud of you. I also told him if I was him, I'd quit. He'd be the only guy to never lose a pro game.
What did he text back?
Yeah.
He was so happy and so positive. And I told him that, and I really believe this, is people are very complicated. Football's simple. And you gotta, and he is a tremendous communicator. And he'll do this thing. He gets it because he's sat where they sat. It's one of the reasons I never wanted to coach in the NFL. I never played in the NFL. I didn't get their game. I didn't get free agency. I didn't want somebody else recruiting my players with pro scouts. And I didn't want people making decisions for me. I didn't want to have a job and they'd already hired a coordinator and I couldn't get rid of it because you don't have full control. He's done all that. So he's been to Super Bowls. He's been in all those locker rooms. He gets it. And I did really enjoy watching his time in the locker room after the game with the players. I thought that just showed you. They love him. He's comfortable with them. He talked about no fear. Coaches live in fear. Live in fear of losing. You live in fear of making decisions that you're going to be criticized. You live in fear of being fired. And that's a burden I don't have because I'm past that point. It helps me because I'm really just having fun and trying to help kids and want to win the games, but I don't care if somebody doesn't like whether I went for fourth down or not. You know, it's a decision I make. I don't need a poll or a panel to ask what they think. I've done it more than they have. So, and Jeff's been there as a player, so he gave them off Monday. I can say, well, everybody gets a game ball, Monday's off. And that's enough for them. They were all happy, so they'll play hard next week too.
Those 2 fourth downs you guys went for, how much of that was the analytics? How much of that was just your gut? Or?
My gut, totally. I would definitely, with Drake Maye and our offensive skill, we're going to go for 4th and 3. You know, unless like the last one, the last field goal, it was stupid because the game dictated you needed those points.
Yeah.
But right now, one of the reasons we're in the position that we're in is we've done a decent job on defense against 4th downs, and we've done as good as anybody in the country offensively on 4th downs. Like I said, I think there was 91 more points that we scored because we've been aggressive. And I'm not going to worry about the ones we don't make. We just need to make them.
So part of it was field goals weren't going to win a game like that. You had to score touchdowns.
Absolutely. I learned that, Andrew, when we were playing Texas Tech, and Cliff Kingsbury and Mike Leach were scoring so many points with the
Air raid.
air raid. It used to be run and shoot, but it's become air raid, and they were scoring a bunch of points. So you weren't going to win with field goals. I mean, they were going to score their 30 to 40 points, and that's kind of what the Big 12 became. So we made a rule then that any time we crossed the 50, we were not kicking field goals. We were going for 4th downs, and just being aggressive with it. And Mike Leach went for 13 4th downs against us one night in Austin. He went for 1 at the 20 on 4th and 4, minus 20, and made it. And I asked him after the game, and he said, "I'm not conventional. You guys are all conventional. You all go by this little book that says you got to punt." He says, "I want to score points, and we weren't going to stop you. So for us to win the game, we had to outscore you." And it's funny that he was doing analytics long before analytics were quote, so prominent in college sports. But I just feel like it shows your team you've got trust in them if you go for it. It shows them you're being aggressive. It shows them that you're not afraid, and you want to be aggressive to win the game, and all that is really positive. You just got to make them.
What went into the decision to have Will Hardy return kicks? That was kind of surprising for us in the press box.
He is he's smart, and he's a really good blocker, and he's the off guy. So you feel like he wouldn't be the one to catch the ball most of the time. That's George Pettaway, and then they just kicked it over there. But Will's going to be a really good player here. He is he's brilliant. I mean, he's got a really high SAT score. He's got an unbelievable grade point average from a prominent school in Atlanta. His dad's a great high school coach. He gets it. So he's already played so much more than we would have thought he would play, but he's going to be a really good player here before he leaves.
Matt,
And he's got real good hands. That's the other thing. And he's big. He's a big body. He even bounced off one when he made the return. All the kids were shouting yesterday when he ran over one of the weight guys.
I didn't know if he had the speed and the shiftiness to be a kick returner.
He does. He's kind of sneaky fast. And he's got quickness. He's got explosive power. And his hands are so good. He intercepts more passes than anybody in practice. So we're very impressed with him.
Mack, sorry to cut you off on that. Ross
cut us off.
We were surprised about Will Hardy. We're like, look, there's 31 back there. We were talking to Josh the other night at Wake, and he was kind of getting a little reflective. He had the trophy, and he was saying that, the previous staff here recruited him, but he probably was going to go to NC State or Penn State, and then you came in, and Phil Longo came in, Lonnie Galloway, and that it just changed for him. And he said he remembers being 150 pounds, and Lonnie saying, you're still our guy. Like, from the beginning, what do you remember about Josh? And I mean, obviously, you take it from there to what it is now. Like, just what do you remember about those days when you were trying to get him to come?
Again, very smart, coach's kid. His dad's the running back coach at East Tennessee State. He's been working with him like Mark Maye worked with Drake from when he was this tall. What you find is the best recruits you have are passionate about football, and they compete. They love the game. And Josh said Gray and liked Power. Some people said Power was too small. Some people said Josh was too small. They love to play, and they're passionate, and they compete every day. And if you do that, you're going to win most games. If you go back and study, and Brian Anderson asked me one time, I used to say a lot, there's more people that lose games than win games. And I'd said it for a year and a half, and Brian finally came up one time. Brian's really smart, and he said, "Can you tell me what that means?" And I felt like a fool. And I said, yeah, the team that fumbles the most, the team that has the most missed assignments, the team that has the most penalties, you usually mess it up more than you fix it. So if you just do what you're supposed to do, and passionate guys that are ready to play usually do what they're supposed to do. And I told our coaches the other day in the meeting, in recruiting, don't look at the stars. You've got to have a certain athletic ability, you've got to have a certain grade point average. Look at the guys that love football, who are passionate about football, because they're the ones that are going to play every week. They're the ones that are going to practice every week. And think how many games we watch when we walk out of there and say, they weren't really ready to play. And how can you have 12 days and not be ready to play for someone? It wore me out on TV because I'd sit there and they'd ask why that team lost. And my first thought was they weren't ready to play. When you're not ready to play, you have penalties. You have missed assignments. You have turnovers. But it's because you're not ready to play. And so you got to have guys that want to play. And Josh, Will Hartney, those guys love football. Josh is thinking about football right now. That's what he does all day, every day. And then he's got that little chip on his shoulder because he's smaller. And he goes to fight you every minute. I get on him sometime about flipping a ball at somebody or counting the touchdowns the other night. I said, come on now, you don't need that. But that's who he is. That's his makeup. And he fights everybody. And that's just, we've done, he caught 100-some balls last year. And the staff has done so much better job this year moving him around than we did last year. We allowed people to cover him in the latter part of the year because we didn't move him around. How foolish of us. So give the staff credit. Lonnie and Phil thought about it and talked about it, and they've actually done an amazing job of moving him around where now it's hard to find him.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, like that it seems like, maybe more so than all of his athletic ability, he's just taking it to another level. Almost like a conscious decision. I'm going to do this thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure you see that from him, I guess.
Absolutely. And this goes back to a couple of kids. We were all frustrated after the South Carolina game last year because we didn't play good. And we didn't coach good. We didn't do anything good. It looked like we didn't want to be there. Some did and some didn't. And we just had the Pitt loss and we just had the NC State loss, which were both devastating. And the games we could have and should have won and didn't. And I remember the one that was the most emotional in the locker room was Josh. And it didn't have anything to do with anything but winning. He wanted to win. The thing that Drake worried about here is, are we going to win? Because he saw 3 wins and he saw 2 wins and nobody in the stands. He said, I don't want to do that. Drake competes. So if you can find guys that compete with confidence, you're going to have a chance each week, and with a certain level of ability. And that's what you got to have. And the interesting thing is, when you go out on the field, nobody's got a 5-star on their shoulder or a 4-star, or nobody cares. Cameron Rucker wasn't highly recruited at all. Everybody thought he was too short. I saw him come to our camp, and he cost a bunch of big old linemen, offensive linemen scholarships because he ran over all of them. And I didn't know who he was. And I do remember saying, who is that? And they said, well, he's 6 foot. And I said, he's killed everybody here. And then they said, yeah, and he's a National Honor Society student. And I said, offer him. I want to offer him. And that's what you get. He loves to play. So the more guys we can get out there that love to play, the better chance we got to win.
Mack, in some respects, are the mistakes and the issues and the inconsistency, do they make your job now to motivate these kids easier because they have not done it up to the standard every time?
Yeah, it's a good point, Tommy. I probably said it to boredom, but you can coach them much harder after you win. If you think of all the teams that are losing and out of bowl contention, it's kind of like the NFL players out of the playoff. How do you coach them? You're trying to pick them up and they're playing that. So that's a hard locker room, man. Our guys, they're just hungry. Why aren't we doing this better? Here's why you're not doing better. We've got to tackle better. So you get their attention in the morning that every single time it's a 4th and 2, and we'll go over 4th and 3 and 4th and 2 tomorrow. You got to be in a better position to tackle. Get him on the ground. You don't have to have a form tackle. Grab him and hold him till some guys can come, but you can't miss. You just can't miss. And the angles, a couple of times the white guy caught the ball on a short one and came up underneath, and we had 3 of them just missing. Got to have proper angles. So those are things. First, we'll put the ball in the morning, 1st and goal at the 5. What's our sequence of plays? You can't do that. And there's 2:16 left, so don't throw the ball away. We're trying to kill the clock. We're trying to make them use 3 timeouts. So there's so many things this team can still learn, Tommy, that we've got to do a better job coaching. And I'll have a staff meeting at 3 today, and I'll be all over the coaches. There's so many things we've got to fix. The positive thing is everybody's listening, and we can fix them easier now.
Mack, is there anything about the fact that you now have an extra game added on, a 13th game before the bowl game, that changes or affects what you do administratively, from a team schedule, just the way you go about it day to day and week to week? Is there anything that makes you adjust or do anything different?
Yeah, you look, Adam, we had 0 week. So we've been doing this a long time, and we've had 2 open dates. So it's a long year for these guys. It's a kind of a mini NFL year. So next week changes because you've got your game at 5:20 and you got a Friday game. So that completely changes your week to a shorter week. And then it does give us an extra day for the championship game playing on Friday. So there's good and bad. And NC State plays at Louisville, but they're a 3:30 game, I think. We play at home at 5:30. So both of us will have a short week. And then what do you do for Thanksgiving? And do you let them go home if they live close enough to drive home and eat and come back? And and last year was a night game, and neither NC State or us wanted a night game on Friday night to hurt high school football in North Carolina. We really asked the league, if we're going to play on Friday, let's play in the afternoon. Don't care if it's noon or 3:30, but let's don't take away money from our high schools. And Dave was passionate about it as well. And so thank goodness for the office, the ACC office, they helped us get it so it wouldn't affect the high school games, because we both felt so bad last year. Even if they're not coming to our game, then they sit at home watching, and it costs the high schools money. So since it's an afternoon game instead of a night game, that changes your schedule. So yes, and then the next week, we haven't played the championship game. We did at Texas, but we haven't here. So we're having to balance today making decisions on the schedule, because the conference office is asking us questions about the championship game while we're preparing for Georgia Tech. So that again is why it's such a strange week, but a dangerous week. You got to make these decisions quick, but you better get back to work.
And I guess there's probably stuff in Charlotte to do too, right? I mean, obligations or where, I don't know.
I'm finding all that out today, so I'm trying to balance that. I think the way it sounds, it's more like an away game. We'll go down on Friday. There is a banquet on Friday night where they honor the legends, and Natron Means is our legend for this year, so that's cool that he's on our staff. But the way I feel like is we'll practice here like we normally do, have a walkthrough on Friday, we'll bus to Charlotte, spend the night and get up and play. I don't even know what time the game is, so I do know this week it's 5:30.
It's 8 p.m.
It's 8 p.m.?
I think so.
Is it?
Yes.
Is the state game on Friday, is that a mutually assured thing, agreed upon thing, or is that a league thing?
I don't have any idea, Tommy. I think when I called the game, the last year Gene and Charlton were here, I think in 80, it was that'd be 16, I think. Yeah, I actually called the game. I had some NC State fans cussing me as I was leaving the game, and they were really young. And I said, I wasn't even coaching here when you were born. My dad hates you too. And my granddad hates you too. And I said, I got it. So that hadn't changed, but that was Friday. Because I remember I did the game and had to get back for the ABC show on Saturday. So we had to run to the airport and get out of here. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all. See you Wednesday.